How much time have you spent in the metaverse? Hands up if you have spent more than 5 hours in XR. Wow, there are people here not raising the hand. Interesting, yeah, but pretty good. Keep your hands up. Who of you has spent more than 50 hours in XR? Okay. Who has spent more than 500 hours in XR? Okay, now we're talking. I have with me Werro from Swisscom, who has not only spent more than 50 hours in XR, but actually leads the Metaverse topic for Swisscom, a national champion telco operator in Switzerland. She also sits on the Swiss Metaverse Association and will share today what it means for a national champion to take global technology and reap benefits from it.
Thank you so much, Tibor. It's a pleasure to be with you today on stage. Tibor is part of BCG X, which is BCG's tech and design build unit of BCG, and is also co-leading the Metaverse topics as a managing partner and managing director of BCG.
Thank you, Tina. So what will it take that all of us keep our hands up and say we're spending more than 500 hours in an extended reality? I said the word metaverse before, but what do we mean by it? In over 150 projects that we have done for our clients, we actually saw that there are 3 underlying technologies at play: immersive technology, Web3, and so-called meta worlds. Immersive technology is what we subsumize under extended reality, be it augmented reality or virtual reality or the mix in between. Web3, on the other side, brings us the opportunity by the blockchain to have digital assets that you can truly own and also proving who you are. And M-Worlds is essentially the persistent social platforms like Roblox, Fortnite, or increasingly new platforms that enter the game. We deliberately chose the Venn diagram to show that there are overlaps already today, and we do believe that they will form part of a metaverse vision to come. But what will it take for this metaverse vision to come? It will take the flywheel. And today, in the next 15 minutes, we're going to lay out what we still need to achieve along this flywheel to enter that augmented world we're talking about. The flywheel starts with infrastructure and technology. It's the access points to this new world. That will lead to user adoption, which in turn will attract the content creators that create experiences for these new platforms and will monetize them through a functioning economy, with the regulator regulating this on the outside. So let's break it down today. On the hardware side, we are seeing advancements along all different form factors. If you look at weight, we are now pushing the boundaries to get down to the size of some of the glasses you have on your temples. Regular glasses in this room weigh about 80 grams. We are with the Quest Pro still at 700 grams. But there are some new glasses like the Xiaomi ones that are already scratching at the 120 gram mark. Similarly, we see massive advancements on the resolution side, where we're actually at or close to the retina moment, meaning that you can no longer discern if you're looking at the physical world or a display. Field of view is also not yet quite at the human level, but it's getting so close to it that you start forgetting that you don't have your full field of view. But then you also have the new elements of tracking, and that last but not least, the price is still coming down, but it has to come down further. Now the issue is, while we have advancements, as you can see on this slide, not a single device does all of them. So what will it take that one single device will achieve the levels we need across all of these dimensions? It will require edge network capabilities. Why does it require edge network capabilities? Because we need to offload computation from the device and put it on a server, but that signal, that latency needs to be fast enough so that we can have that tracking without causing dizziness for the user. And that's a field, I think, where the telcos are obviously looking at. And every single telco I work with has reviewed and accelerated their edge network plans, and it is powering this future. So what does Swisscom think about the infrastructure layer in all of this, Tina?
Yeah, Tibor. So I think for Swisscom as a semi-governmental corporation, it's pretty obvious that we're playing in the infrastructure layer, and that for us it's not just the right to play in that field, but it also somehow of a duty to provide an accessible and reliable infrastructure. But when we look at the layers of the ecosystem of the metaverse, we see that infrastructure is just one layer of potential plays of a company. So as Swisscom, we are providing computation, bandwidth, ultra-low latency, communications, but I think what is crucial for the success of like a bigger telco as we are, it's also to look in the more different layers, for example, the economic infrastructure or other layers where we could provide certain data analytics or also certain enablement let's say services, for example, billing, transaction, or identity management, and more. And coming back to the hardware that Tibor has been mentioning, which we also see here in the access and interface layer, I think it's very important to mention that the metaverse, in this context of today, is a collection of a variety of different technologies. And what was very striking for me to look at when we were looking at the Gartner hype cycle is that the variety of technologies that come together in the metaverse are all at very different stages, which are at the moment like a huge challenge for a bigger mass adoption of this metaverse, or also the variety of technologies at the moment, where it all has to come together. But Tibor is going to talk more about the user adoption and how he sees it.
So we need to get to mass adoption of this technology. But how long will it take? We estimate that it will take us until the end of the decade to reach the $100 million mark of shipped devices per year. And how did we come up with that number and that time frame? We actually looked back to previous technology cycles. And the billion-dollar question is XR going to be more like the smartphone? Is it going to be like a tablet, or is it going to be like the laptop device? And we came up in our studies that we don't believe that it's going to be at the same level as a smartphone. We would have already started to feel this now, but we do believe that it is actually above the laptop dissemination curve. Now, what will determine the shape of this curve? I think one core element of it is looking at what Apple is doing. Not only because Apple is a market-making entity in this, but also because if you look back, Apple has been defining each of these categories in the past. And if you remember, it took until the iPhone 4, until we saw the inflection point that you see on this chart, for the smartphone market to take up. So if you do that math in your mind, we'll have the Apple Vision Pro, not the Vision Pro, start shipping first half of next year in the US and then gradually towards other countries. And if you do 4 generations of that, you will land towards the end of this decade until you see that curve pick up. But it is essentially boiling down also to the content on these devices. We are, at BCG, we have to do 2x2s. Nothing has changed in that regard. And the 2x2 that we here is on one axis the devices, and on the other axis the type of content. And the smartphone revolution was hinging on 2-dimensional content, which went from desktop to mobile applications, heavily driven by video. What we see now happening is that we see the 3-dimensional content, but being consumed on 2-dimensional displays. Sometimes we call it 2.5D. It's gaming. It's the big platforms like Fortnite, like Roblox, like the games, and that is a market in and of itself. And for the first time, with the devices that we have today, we will see that 3-dimensional content be also perceived in the spatial dimension. Now, what type of content are we talking about? We are talking about B2B on one side and B2C on the other side. And these charts are not new. You have seen charts like that for AWEs after AWEs. What is different is that these charts start to have numbers on them. And the more that I listen to these presentations, I saw a couple of them today, the more I like that we have numbers on them where we can prove value. And this is a mix of projects that we have conducted at BCG X and some public ones, but the value is starting to happen. It is starting to happen in training, it is starting to happen in augmented operations, it is starting to happen especially everywhere you first have to manipulate electrons before you manipulate atoms. And the same holds true also in B2C. We see consumer good companies, again, allowing their users to try on electronic versions of their product before trying the physical ones. And we also see different ways of commerce moving to those platforms. So I'm curious, as you have been looking at use cases yourself, Tina, where have you put the emphasis on your first exploration of these technologies?
Yeah. So at Swisscom, we've been following a very explorative approach where we really just first off wanted to learn and find out what are potential use cases, where do the customers really want to be served, in what niches should we go into. And we've been focusing mainly on B2C use cases that ranges from HR, recruiting use cases, up to entertainment, or other use cases that are also at a later stage, are going to industrial metaverse use cases. However, B2C has really been our main field of play, which I think is a great field to start in, because you can also leverage your own employees for customer feedback before you go outside with a certain solution. And I will not talk too much about numbers here, but one of our key learnings was really authenticity. If you're starting a pilot project or if you're going outside with a service, it needs to be authentic to be successful. Because I think all of us, we've been looking at certain use cases at the past. There were a lot of fear of missing out projects, both from creators, but also from corporates. And they failed mainly because of one thing: they were not authentic. And generally speaking, I think, including Swisscom, for a certain part, a lot of tech companies, they focus on the technology first before they focus on the customer needs. What do our customers really need? We really start focusing on the newest technology. We want to be the best, the fastest, but then we tend to miss the customer experience. And that was really one key learning, that you need to involve the customers very early. Do not focus so much on the tech, but rather on what the customers want.
Customer first, I love it. Now, I hate to say it, but I wasn't able to create the slide deck without mentioning Gen AI. So Gen AI obviously is going to be the accelerator of accelerators. And I couldn't have said it better than my actual colleague, Ronnie Abowitz, who is the founder of Magic Leap and is now on board at BCG as a senior advisor, saying that AI is a technology that XR has been waiting for. And we see those advancements already happening on the content creation part. We also see it in terms of the personalization layer, but we can also, for the first time, combine XR and embody AI. Today, we are interacting with AI through text, through speech, and soon we can have them embodied as avatars among ourselves. Now, this brings us to the economical adoption of this. And we see more and more developers that are able to make a living out of this and are creating the missing piece of the flywheel, churning out more and more of these experiences. Now, as this is growing, the regulator is also starting to see this. And I think the regulator has a multifaceted role here. You need to safeguard copyrights, privacy, but also the topic of decentralization to ensure antitrust is regulating this in a positive way. And I don't want to go too much into theory, but given that you are on the Swiss Metaverse Association, what are some of the learnings, how you see Switzerland actually making an advancement in this new world?
Thanks for mentioning that, Tibor. So I'd really like to share this, I would call it success case of the Swiss Metaverse Association and how we work together to influence the regulations in Switzerland, because we really had a very good example looking back at the whole crypto developments where Switzerland has been one of the first movers in creating laws and regulations around the whole space, and thus was able to create the so-called crypto valley, which has attracted a lot of international companies and now is very strong in the space. And with the Swiss Metaverse Association, we try to do exactly the same and be very proactive in influencing our politics with creating a very healthy environment for international companies and also be a very attractive marketplace for international companies. So we have been building different expert groups within this association that all work on a variety of topics, of industry topics such as health or gaming, tourism or industrial metaverse. And we're all trying to showcase or come up with the main challenges in that field and what should be done from a perspective of politics, and then we're writing a white paper to present it to the politics and hopefully collaborate on building this healthy environment, just as it was done for the crypto world.
Great. So we're down to our 2 last slides, and then I have a gift for everybody in the room. The first one I mentioned, we can't build a slide deck without a 2x2. We also can't build a slide deck without a house. So I'm not going to go through all the elements of the house, but if there are 3 elements of the house every company should take away, it's the roof. So start with the strategy and start with the customer need. Don't start with the hammer that might be shiny, start with the nail you need to hammer down. On the top here, I think the one thing that I want to emphasize, and it's something we're really keen on, what we do at BCG, is over-invest in experience design. Really take that user-centric view and think through how the experience needs to work, because it's different to do it in a 3rd dimension than as you're used in 2 dimensions. And then I wouldn't call it's in the cellar, or maybe call it more in the basement. It's the mission control office. Have that crew that is equally invested in checking out what is out there, but also making sure that your internal roadmap is on track and adapt as we go. So maybe, as we are running short on time, just 2 words, I think, as you look back, Tina, what has been your learning in operationalizing this for Swisscom?
Thank you. Well, we've been talking about authenticity before, customer experience first, and I think that's not only relevant for the outside, but also very crucial for the inside. So we've been talking about the flywheel and how the different fields are accelerating itself, but it also has to be an internal acceleration process to be successful in going with pilots or really exploring a topic that is very new, such as the metaverse. And looking back of our almost 3-year journey around the metaverse, I think one of the main success factors is really ideal teamwork between bottom-up initiatives of a very experienced and passionate cross-functional team that wants to make metaverse pilots or initiatives happen in kind of in parallel with top-down key commitments. So we did a lot of education of our C-level, and were able to get a sponsor from the C-level management that really accelerated our learning curve, was providing us with the necessary communication across the whole corporation, the strategic guidance on where we should position ourselves ideally, where is the lack or where of knowledge or where to position ourselves. And then last but not least, nothing goes without money. So if you get the financial, but also the human capital resources to follow projects, it's really key to have both sides going hand in hand.
Amazing. Now, maybe just a very short personal question. This was looking backwards, looking forward. What are you looking forward in this augmented world?
Great question. So I think that education is one of the main factors of a functioning or healthy economy. And I think that I'm very excited on how education is going to be influenced by extended reality. It's already took its path forward, but I'm excited on how that's really going to scale, and also changing how people not just learn in a traditional sense, but also be entertained. I also call it edutainment, entertained education, and I think that's really going to accelerate the future of learning. How about you, Tibor?
I think I'm most stoked about the human connection. I think when I saw that the podcast about 2 weeks ago between Lex Fridman and Mark Zuckerberg, and you have these hyper-realistic avatars, I, for the first time, could feel how would it be to feel connected. So this excites me. I hope we could excite you. And with this, we close our talk and open up for questions. One last gift. We're going to leave you behind with my personal reading list. So if you want to know where I get my inside scoop from and which books I really enjoy about this future, check it out. But happy to go into questions.
That's a first. Thank you, Tibor. That's quite interesting, actually. 3 minutes for questions. Who's going to go first? Hands? People? I want to see you. Hands? Okay. They see what you've done, Tibor, now?
Don't be shy.
Yes.
There's the one first hand.
Thank you for your presentation. My name is Matthias Leckner. I'm from NF Brand X, a Metaverse agency. May I ask in which platforms and environments you have spent so many hours?
So, I mean, obviously, my job is to test pretty much all of them, yeah. But I would say it's a mix between some of the more work-related ones, so Horizon Workrooms, spatial, Arthur technologies. These are some of the ones that we use quite heavily. Obviously, we have also tried out others like Glue and so on. And then I also enjoy a lot some games. So I play with my brothers. One is in LA now, and the other one is in Zurich. We play 11 VR ping pong, and we also really like the Golf Plus, but the mini golf version. So that's a bit my personal top list.
Yes, hello. Would be nice to hear what was the concrete outcome of the project. What did you do? I mean, what was you built an association? I heard that, but was it more about learning?
So
yeah, maybe more insight.
So what kind of experiences we have built, or that Swisscom has built?
Yeah, Swisscom. I mean,
Swisscom.
You together.
So maybe you answer for Swisscom, and then I can give a couple of examples beyond.
Thank you. Yeah, so as I said, we've mainly been experimenting in the B2C field. So I think the main learning that we got is really the qualitative feedback from our both employees, but also from outside. One example, I'm choosing one that didn't go well as an example of a learning, is that we've been hosting a phygital concert in Decentraland, which was in parallel of a physical concert. And then there was something going on at the same time in the Decentraland. And we weren't very customer focused. We were focused on the technology and didn't really consider that Decentraland cannot be entered via a mobile phone. So the idea would have been that the people at the concert would interact with the digital space. However, they weren't able to enter, which was a learning. So yeah, we learned a lot on technical feasibility, but also what kind of skills do we need in the future? Where should we invest there? And yeah, it's really a variety of different insights that we gained. And coming back to your question about the Metaverse Association, which just started last year. So we're still in progress of writing a white paper, and it should be finalized by the end of this year. And then we'll see how the politics will act upon it.
And maybe just give two more examples. Like one is that we built for a telco operator in the US that we equipped the field services with augmented reality glasses, in this case is Magic Leap 2s, to actually show that as they are having augmented workflows, so they have more information as well as remote support with the I see what you see, we're able to reduce resolution time by 30% on that process. One other one that is more internal is that twice per week, I co-locate in a virtual office with my team, where we are co-located. We have currently an office which is overlooking the skyline of Dubai. And everybody's able to have mixed reality workstations, and we just co-locate and can talk to each other. And it really increases the productivity as well as the, let's say, the sense of community. That's just 2 out of 100.
Thank you, Tina and Tibor. Thank you for the reading list. I still haven't scanned it. I have to. Thank you for your questions. If you want to contact them, you can find them around. I'm pretty sure you have more questions to ask. Give it up. A big applause, please.
Okay.